Normally, David at 5. Today, 4. Cowboys open Thursday against Tampa Bay. Open up the NFL season. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, thanks for your time, making it work for us. So, Connor McGovern starts at right guard. Is that correct with this Zack Martin news?
I think it's like 99% correct. The Cowboys are trying to leave a little bit of wiggle room for Zack Martin. You know, if he can get enough negative tests and get to Tampa on time, I guess that's theoretically possible, but I think it's a very, very, very slim chance. So, yes, I do think it'll be Connor McGovern.
What are their vaccination numbers like post cut-down day?
I think I wasn't there because opening a new attraction, but Stephen Jones told reporters today that they have 3 guys left on the team that aren't. And I don't know if that's – I think that's practice squad and active roster, so 3 out of 68, I believe. So not perfect, but pretty good.
All right, so what a hell of an opener, right? You've got the star with all of that, plus you have the maybe greatest player ever in Tom Brady and all the Super Bowl rings, defending champions, loaded up with everybody back. What are your expectations of this team early on in this game Thursday?
That's a good question. I mean, it's hard to, let's just be very honest. Like, it's hard to look at this matchup, even with Zack Martin in the game, and, like, think of a reason on paper for why the Cowboys should win. Like, it's the Super Bowl champs. They return all 22 starters. They've got Brady. They've got Gronk. They got all this firepower. They got a great defense. And the home team like never loses these Thursday night games since they started doing them in 2004. I think the home team's only ever lost 3. So that's, almost 20 years. It's hard to win these types of games against teams, good teams that are good enough to have won a Super Bowl. So, it's hard to say I expect them to win, but I think my expectation is for them to come out, play a lot cleaner than they did last year. Improve on defense, play more attacking defense, play as if they know how to play defense at an NFL level, which was not the case a lot of times last year, and just be competitive. I mean, it's a 17-game season. You're not going to win them all. I'm not going to judge them too hard if they lose this game, but at the very least, it would be nice if they look like they belong on the same field, because that kind of gives you a barometer of, okay, we might not win, but if we can go toe-to-toe with the defending champs, we might have a chance to be pretty good.
How much concern should fans have that the first-team offense hasn't had any game action together in a long, long time?
It's ironic because I am the guy that every year I say, sit the starters in the preseason. It ain't worth it. And I still believe that. But this is a hell of this is a hell of a challenge for anybody, let alone an offense that hasn't had a lot of time together. If they were going against Carolina, I'd be like, yeah, who cares? They'll get it together. But you're going against the team, again, everybody's back, all that continuity. I don't follow the Bucs as closely as I follow the Cowboys, but they haven't seemed to have any crazy injury issues. Tom Brady looked really sharp in his preseason work. So I do think they're at a bit of a disadvantage. Again, is that going to sink their season? I don't think so, but it might take them a week or 2 weeks to get things clicking, whereas I expect the Bucs to be ready to go from snap one. So I do think it is a little bit of a disadvantage in this specific matchup.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us on Sicken 365 Radio. With what Tampa Bay does with Brady, his receivers, they obviously run the ball well enough. Dallas with their secondary, give me who's going to start? Who do you think? And I know they can be 5 and 6 in there at one point, but who do you feel like they'll try to at least start with in the secondary?
I think, in your nickel package, which is that's the personnel you use the most in the modern NFL. I think you'll see Anthony Brown and Trayvon Diggs outside at corner. I think you'll see Jordan Lewis in the slot, DeMonte Casey as your free safety, and Donovan Wilson as your strong.
Paul?
How much do we expect to see Malik Hooker at all?
Really, really great question. I wish I had a definitive answer for you. It's interesting because I think Casey and Hooker are very similar players. They're free safeties. You probably don't want them down in the box banging against those bigger guys. and they're not going to play a lot of special teams. So I am interested to see how they deploy that. I do think Dan Quinn has the potential to use a lot of safeties in the way he wants to play defense. I think Jaron Kearse is a name that I think people should know who's not like a star. I think he's got a chance to be like a dime safety who can play against tight ends. I'm not saying he's going to erase Rob Gronkowski. I don't think that's a hell of a lot easier said than done, but he's a big, long guy who I think can work well against tight ends. So I say all of that to say I'm not going to be surprised if Dan Quinn's got a plan for how he could use 3 or even 4 safeties in this game. So, he's not going to share that game plan with me before kickoff, but I wouldn't be surprised if all those guys find a way to have a role.
Well, what he needs to do is just go have them play like Atlanta did in the first half against New England in the Super Bowl, and then say, okay, wait a minute, let's do it again. Let's not let 28-3 whatever happen. All right, David, how difficult is it watching what was a once-in-a-lifetime college football team become right now who LSU has become?
Well, I mean, it sucks. That's the simple answer. It sucks a lot. But I want to be clear, the once-in-a-lifetime college football team has nothing to do with this. Like, nothing can taint the legacy of that amazing team. And clearly, I'm going to need to cling tightly to my memories of 2019 to help me get through some bad football because, they seem to have lost it real quick. And I thought UCLA was a pretty good team going into that game. I wasn't surprised at all that they lost, but they got their butts kicked. I mean, they got blown off the line. SEC fans love to brag about how they have bigger, badder athletes at every spot on the field. Well, that's what UCLA looked like against LSU on Saturday, and that's what worries me is no offense to the Pac-12, but if UCLA can blow you off the ball like that, you're going to have a hell of a time against the Alabamas, the Auburns, Floridas of the world if you can't even hold your own against UCLA. So, yeah, it might be a little bit of a long season.
Look, you can just join our support group, David. It's fine.
Oh, no, I don't even want to hear it, Paul. Y'all went toe-to-toe with Notre Dame. Y'all played a great game. Y'all took them to overtime. I mean, that's what I'm saying is, like, if LSU loses a nail-biter to UCLA on the road – that whatever, they weren't supposed to be a playoff contender this year, but they just got dominated. There's a difference.
Yeah, they did. They got physically beat up, and UCLA is usually not one that does that. They usually are a little bit soft, despite how they might look, with a bunch of great athletes running all over the place. All right, anything else, Paul?
Nope.
David, thank you, man. Appreciate you jumping on early with us today, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. By the Zack Martin, obviously the COVID thing. He's got a short timeline here before they leave Wednesday, play Thursday. And, let's say that all of a sudden, Thursday morning, he gets this second test that's negative. You don't think Jerry's little jet might find a way to get him down to Tampa about as fast as possible?
Yeah, last episode of Hard Knocks tonight as well. I haven't been watching it much at all, but for those who have, the last episode tonight.
It's not like the Hard Knocks that they did that Smokey might have been on with Tank Johnson and Pac-Man Jones and Terrell Owens. That was a very interesting Hard Knocks. That one right there. But this one, and not that it's not interesting. They're all Hard Knocks are interesting in their own right. But this one, the Cowboys, and you're talking about, in Hard Knocks, you want to see the stories of the guys who may not make the roster, and that Azur Kamara made the roster, and that was a good story. But at the end of it, you want to see different intrigue. The Cowboys surprisingly have very little levels of intrigue now.
Everything's kind of settled.
It's kind of settled.
Yeah.
So their intrigue is as long as these guys are healthy, this is who's going to play. So that's what training camp's about. The real intrigue for the Cowboys comes when they mess up when the games count. That's the true intrigue with the Cowboys. Training camp, not so much. The real stuff is in the season when they.
I have no idea
when they lose to the Bucks, or they'll beat the Bucks and then lose to the Giants by 21.
Okay, how has it gone as far as the interest? I haven't seen a lot. Okay, all right, and that's probably disappointing for HBO, right? Because
I'm sure they'll still get okay numbers. It's the Cowboys.
Cowboys.
I mean, you got to think about it. You're not looking at it from a Cowboys fan perspective. Cowboys fan, they're going to watch the Cowboys on Hard Knocks, whatever it is, because they're not looking necessarily for drama. They're looking for just stuff, info behind the scenes and what guys are like off the field and that kind of thing. But I'll be curious to see what the ratings eventually turn out to be.
I know after last week, Jerry Jones really loves Whataburger. That's what they taught. Like the end of the
Who
thing.
doesn't, right?
Yeah, he was talking about he loves water.